as it can be.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. I want to welcome you to our Fridays with Friends, hosted by Coast to Coast Legal Aid. And we want to thank Commissioner Julie Fishman from the City of Tamarack for joining us today on our Zoom Facebook Live. So welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
Yes. So what we wanted to do with our Fridays with Friends is really find out kind of what's going on in the community, any updates that may be helpful to our residents and any of our clients that live in, for example, the City of Tamarack. So could you give us an update on some things that are going on in Tamarack?
Sure. I can tell you about a couple of things. We have been working very closely with the ADRC to expedite any issues that our seniors are having, such as needing food or meals delivered because you're over 65 and you have medical conditions and you don't want to be out and about. That's being coordinated through our social services department. And starting Monday, we will be doing what we're calling our mortgage, utility, and rent assistance program. That'll open up on Monday. And that program will allow individuals that have lost their jobs because of the virus to apply for up to $5,000 to help with bills. There is an application process and you have to qualify for it, but we are using our SHIP funds to be able to finance that.
Oh, and you said that application starts on Monday?
Starts Monday, and it will be done through our website, which is tamarack.org. The application will be online and there is assistance for folks that need help with that process.
Oh, very good. And so for anybody that's watching the feed, we're going to post the flyer for the City of Tamarack up that has the information for it and any of the other resources we go through. We're going to provide that in the feed and then on our Facebook page as well. So if you don't have something handy to write down the information, we're going to post it after. So with the SHIP funds, I know with our office and maybe the City of Tamarack's getting the same questions, but we have a lot of renters and homeowners that are asking, you know, is my rent still due? Is my mortgage still due during the coronavirus? So it's been
yes, unfortunately, even with the virus, bills are due and bills need to be paid. The suggestion is that you reach out to your landlord or your bank, let them know that you have lost your job because of COVID-19. Try to work out a payment plan. But right now there is a freeze on evictions. So there's that help and that hope, but you don't want to ignore the bills. That's the worst thing you can do. Make sure you're in communication with your bill collectors.
Right. And we've encouraged our clients like you to speak with their landlords or with their mortgagors. The other information we put out there is for cities like Tamarack that are offering the rent assistance with the SHIP funds, right, that if there are landlords that are in the community, to encourage them to work with the city to accept the funds and work with the tenants that they have for that would help through the process as well.
Yeah.
But yes, there is the moratorium that right now goes through May the 17th for the Florida that Governor DeSantis signed that has put a moratorium on the evictions being filed until that time. We don't know if it's going to be extended. We'll kind of see as this all plays out, but it just means that you can't be evicted right now. But once the moratorium is lifted at whatever point, whatever the rent or mortgage in the other case that came due, that's still going to be due. So that's something for any of the residents to keep in mind for sure.
Right. It still adds up. And that's why it's so important to reach out and communicate, like I said, with your landlord or your bank to let them know you've lost your job to the virus, the pandemic that's going on. Just ignoring it and saying I'm safe until May 17th is not a good way to handle it.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that we've had a lot of questions about is if a landlord could lock someone out during the COVID-19. And we've explained to them that no, the landlord is prohibited from locking you out of your home during the COVID-19, and just to understand that that's not something that a landlord's permitted to do. And if that happens, to call our office. And I'll list the number now, but it's 954-736-2400 if that issue were to come up. So because we're here to help the community, but keep those sort of things in mind.
Right. And you can also reach out again to social services for the city of Tamarack if something like that happens, so that the city can help you out as well.
Right. Very good. And I'm not sure if you get any of the questions that relate to public benefits with regard to the EBT, but one of the matters that came up recently is that your EBT can be used to purchase groceries from Walmart and from Amazon. That was approved for your SNAP benefits. So if any of the residents are trying to use it, they would be able to do so instead of going into Walmart for doing it. The only thing that they can't use it for are the delivery fees, because some of the other delivery options have those fees. So if any of your residents were asking about that, we wanted to make sure we got that information out there.
And that's great to know, because that's not a question I had gotten yet, but sooner or later it was going to come up. So now I know the answer, and that's great.
Yeah, very good. And then there was also, with the SNAP benefits, there was a 2-month increase that if you are a recipient of the food stamps, your amount would be the maximum for your household size for the 2 months. So they should have received that by now, so they can check and see, if they have that, because that was approved in Florida as well for it. Because as we know, we have a lot of food banks that are going on and different food drives and all of it, but we want to make sure that the people that are eligible for any of these types of assistance are aware of it. And you have a couple of different food stops in any of the food drives in Tamarack?
We have 2 set up. One just happened, or will happen tomorrow morning at the Korean Church, right on Commercial Boulevard. And another is set up for Wednesdays at, I want to say Christian Life, but it is posted on our website. Again, that's tamarack.org. All the information on what the city's doing with food drives, the most current information on the coronavirus 19 updates, all of that's posted there.
Oh, very good. That's very handy for the city to have that for anyone to go to and get those resources, with the updates, because I know with our office, it's constantly updating with different information that we receive from different community organizations. So it's good to have that for the city of Tamarack on their one page.
Yeah, and sometimes it changes on an hourly basis, as you know. So
it's like, oh wait, I got this morning, but it's this afternoon. So, but it's
right.
Yeah, it's a changing time. But again, it's great to have that resource for the residents so they can access it. I think the other question we got is, of course, the people that have become unemployed during this, and we've encouraged everyone to utilize the site, the floridajobs.org website. There are times that it's going to be down, overnight for their maintenance and including the upcoming weekend. And we recognize the frustration for it. There's also the app that they launched about 2 weeks ago, I think now, for people to access that to do their application. But if your residents in Tamarack are continuing to have problems with accessing it, or they are denied on their unemployment benefits, to make sure that they call our office. And the number for that is 954-736-2490. Like I said, I know it's a lot of numbers, but we're going to post everything for everyone to access. But, if you're denied for the unemployment, that's something we'd like for you to reach out to our office about.
And just something that came up this week on the paper forms for the reemployment assistance was there's on line 36, it references line 12 of a different form number. And I've sent that to one of our state representatives to have it looked at. What we think happened was when the state updated the form, they forgot to change the form number on that line, if that makes sense.
that makes sense. Well, that's good
Yeah,
information for the paper forms, because yes, those are still available as well.
right.
We're all, as with that, we're all just kind of moving, along as we go with it. And you have a senior population, of course, in Tamarack. And you mentioned the ADRC. So I just wanted to give their number as well, because if they're not currently the recipient of the meal programs or are experiencing a food shortage due to this, they can call ADRC. It's 954-745-9779 for that assistance. And our office works closely with ADRC with it. And if there are seniors that are having civil legal issues, for them to call our office. And for us, seniors is age 60 and above. I know that different organizations have senior as a different qualifier, but with our office at Coast to Coast, it is 60 and above. But the phone number for that is 954-736-2450 with it. So if they could give a call, if they're having a civil legal issue like their housing or other matters or their food stamps, they can give us a call for it, because we try to make sure that we're helping our vulnerable populations, in the community, in addition to our low income, and of course our seniors with COVID-19. We recognize the risk for that population in particular.
Right.
And I know that domestic violence and that area is something that's very close to you. And I think you had put up a blog today,
Yes.
Mike, for it. Do you want to tell a little bit about that and discuss?
Well, the concern, not mine, not only mine, but with a lot of domestic violence organizations and representatives, they are looking at some of the numbers coming out from police calls and seeing a decline in calls overall. And the concern is that because the message is that we are all safer at home, some of those victims of domestic violence, child sexual abuse, they're staying quiet, and they're saying that the message is we're safer at home, so we can't go anywhere. We have nowhere to go. So they feel stuck. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Abuse is abuse no matter what time. And if somebody is a victim of abuse, they need to reach out and let people know.
Exactly. The information we were going to add is that for the courthouse, to remind people that the main courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, down on 6th, is that it is open for emergencies. And if someone who is a victim of domestic violence needs to file the initial petition for injunction, the courthouse is open. They can go there and file for that initial petition. The courthouse is requiring masks for people that go to the courthouse. And when you go, you would need to tell the deputies that are at the doors that you're there to file the initial petition for injunction.
Alicia, is it a mask requirement or a facial covering requirement?
No. Yeah, facial covering for it, so that, yeah. Who knew that was going to become such a term of art with the mask and the
yes. Well, it's got to be made, again, it's got to be made clear, because we don't want somebody sitting at home being abused because they don't have an actual mask. They're wearing a bandana over their face. So
right. Yeah. And the deputies are there, so tell them, what you're there for, that it is the initial filing for the petition for injunction. If you need advice on filing that initial petition, the Family Law Advice Line at Coast to Coast is 954-736-2495. So you could call in and get information about filing that initial one. The Broward County Courthouse is holding hearings via Zoom, kind of like what we're doing here. And our attorneys at Coast to Coast are representing victims of domestic violence in those hearings for it. So the courthouse has made that available so that things that they've deemed as emergencies are still being handled for it, particularly for this vulnerable community. And like I said, just making sure that they know that this information is out there. If anyone's wanting to call a shelter, the only certified shelter in Broward is Women in Distress. just to provide their number, be consistent, it's 954-761-1133, if anyone needed that information with it, because again, we don't want anyone in an unsafe environment. We want everyone to stay well and stay safe, but staying safe is key for everyone.
Right.
All right. Was there other information about Tamarack that you wanted to get out there, or make sure that even our office is aware of? And just there's so much, right?
There's a whole lot going on, even with the stay-at-home order. The city is open for business. One of the good things is that during this pandemic, we have, as a city, we've chosen not to shut off utilities. We do have our own water utility, and currently there's a moratorium on shutting off for lack of payment. Kind of like all the others, just communicate with the city, let us know what's going on so that we know that it's not being ignored. I could go on, but I know we're short on time. I appreciate you allowing me this time to get some information out. We're really fortunate that we were able to do the mortgage utility and rent assistance program. I give kudos to our city staff for coming up with this and putting it in place.
Yeah, that was great news to see that when it was announced for the city. And just a reminder for anybody watching that application starts on Monday with the city of Tamarack. And for some more information about our office, like I said, anything we've mentioned during this Facebook Live, we're going to put all of them in the comment section, and any of the flyers, they'll be accessible on our Coast to Coast Facebook page. We also recently did a virtual clinic that was on housing. It's about an hour and a half long. So if there's anyone who has more specific housing and consumer law questions, it is posted on our Facebook page, Coast to Coast Legal Aid Facebook. And you can look at it there and watch it and get more in-depth answers that as they relate to housing and consumer law. And we have a few more coming up that relate to domestic violence and some other public benefits matters and disability, as those are up and coming. So if anyone wants more information, just keep a watch on our Facebook for those kind. Okay.
Thank you so much.
We thank you again, Commissioner Fishman. We really appreciate what you're doing for the city of Tamarack and for taking the time this Friday to come out and talk to us.
I appreciate the invitation.
All right. Thank you and take care.
You too.